A practical guide to controlling your baby's environment.
In earlier videos, we've mentioned the effect that the environment can have on babies.
Babies, like all of us, take in information from their environment through their senses, the 5 we learned about in school, plus some others we didn't learn about.
In this video, we're going to talk about common things in the environment that can affect babies one sense at a time. I'll introduce each sense and then go through a checklist of common environmental triggers for that sense, including questions for you to ask about your environment.
We'll end this video with a list of questions to help you look at your home and your baby's other environments from a sensory point of view. Let's start with talking about one sense at a time.
Sight, or the sense of vision, is the first sense we'll talk about.
The sense of sight includes how dark or bright the environment is and whether there are moving images or objects. A brighter environment can help wake up a sleepy baby, but a too bright or visually busy environment can make a stressed or overwhelmed baby shut down. Here are some questions to ask yourself. How bright is the room? Is there a light right above the baby's eyes? Does the baby change how he or she acts if you dim the lights? What about if you make the room brighter? Are there any fast-moving objects or images around? Moving images, such as television screens, and fast movement, such as a toddler or pet running around, can also be very attention-catching for a young infant. They also, of course, are often accompanied by a lot of noise.
Sound, or the sense of hearing, is the next sense we'll talk about. There are many sounds in a baby's environment. Adults talking, televisions or radios playing, preschoolers laughing, crying, playing, and even yelling. These are all sounds that a baby might hear.
How does the baby you're caring for react to sound? Does his or her behavior change in a noisy environment compared to a quiet one? Does his or her ability to eat well change if a TV is on, or if you're talking to someone while feeding him? Some babies are very sensitive to intermittent, unpredictable, or loud sounds. These kinds of unpredictable sounds can disrupt sleeping, eating, and lead to more irritable, stressed, or shut-down behavior. However, constant low-level sound, sometimes called white noise, can help some babies to get and stay calm. A fan in the bedroom, or a machine that plays white noise, wave sounds, or something similar are some of the techniques that work for some babies.
The sense of smell also gives babies information about their environment.
The sense of smell is very well developed at birth. Babies are born able to recognize and be calmed by the scent of their mother. Sometimes babies will react strongly to unfamiliar scents. Strong reactions to new people may be partly smell-related. If a baby's away from home or from his or her regular caregivers, it can be useful to have a blanket, clothing, or other items that smell familiar to the baby. Smell also can affect a baby's appetite. Have you noticed even young babies often want a breast or bottle feed just as their family's getting ready to eat? Recent studies suggest this is because food smells stimulate their hunger, just like adults.
Taste is another sense we learned about in school, and it can affect a baby's behavior, although strictly speaking, it doesn't give information about the baby's environment.
Taste is not usually a big factor in babies' behavior, though they can and do notice changes in the taste of their milk or formula. Babies are born with a preference for sweet tastes. Until babies are old enough to try solid food, it's best to only give them breast milk or formula. It gives young infants all the nutrients they need, and they don't need anything sweeter than that.
The sense of touch gives babies a lot of important information about their nearby environment. There are several different kinds of touch sensors. We have nerve endings for light touch, deep pressure touch, temperature, and pain.
The touch sense is very important for babies as they attach to their parents and for parents as they bond with their babies. It's a great idea to spend some time skin to skin with your baby when you can.
How a baby is touched, including being held or not held, can really change a baby's behavior.
Regular loving touch is important to babies' emotional and physical health. Some babies find light stroking very soothing, others prefer to be held but not stroked.
Every baby is an individual. You have to really pay attention to each baby to know what works for him or her.
How does your baby react to different textures of clothes or blanket? How does your baby react to bath time? Just like adults, tickly or scratchy touch can be annoying to some babies. If a baby seems irritated after a change of clothes, check the insides to make sure there are no annoying tags or seams.
The next sense I'm going to talk about, most of us didn't learn about in school. We have special nerve endings in all of our joints and muscles that tell us where our body parts are and how much force or pressure they're getting. These receptors are called proprioceptors, and this sense is called proprioception, or the proprioceptive sense.
This is a really important sense for helping babies with stressed or immature nervous systems to get or stay calm and organized. Proprioceptive input, sometimes called deep pressure input, is very calming for many babies and a lot of adults too. This is the kind of input that's provided through containment strategies like bundling, swaddling, and baby wearing, and just good old-fashioned snuggling. When doing these things, you probably don't think, I'm providing proprioceptive input, but you may notice that it helps a baby get to or stay in a calm, alert state. Please watch the videos Positioning and Developmentally Supportive Care and When and How to Bundle for more ideas of ways to provide this kind of input to babies.
Another sense we didn't learn about in school, but which we often use to help settle babies, is the vestibular sense, sometimes also called the movement sense. The vestibular sense tells us where our head is in space and whether it's moving forward and backward, side to side, up and down, or around in circles.
Babies, older children, and adults all get information from their vestibular systems, tiny little bones inside the inner ear that tell us what direction our heads are moving in.
Do you know how you feel dizzy after you spin in circles? That's your vestibular sense. Do you enjoy swinging on a swing or rocking in a rocking chair? Those are also vestibular activities.
Rocking, swaying, bouncing, and being walked around or pushed in a stroller are all examples of common ways babies are given vestibular or movement input.
And just like the other senses, some babies like more or less vestibular input than others. What is just the right amount of movement for one baby may be way too much for another baby and not nearly enough for yet another.
When you're holding your baby and trying to calm them down or get them to sleep, do you rock in a rocking chair, stand up and sway, or bounce up and down, walk around, dance? Maybe you do all of those things. How does your baby react to these different movements? Are there times you use more or less movement? When you're feeding your baby, are you still or do you move a little bit, perhaps rocking or swaying rhythmically while the baby eats? If you have an infant swing, how does your baby respond to being in the swing?
Of course, in real life, all of us, including babies, take in information from all of the senses at the same time and not one at a time like we're talking about here.
A baby may be able to put up with a certain amount of noise and stay calm, but if that noise is combined with a lot of bright light or new smells, the whole experience might become overwhelming. Because we have so many different senses, it can be tricky to figure out just what it is that is causing your baby to get upset or overwhelmed. Often, you need to use trial and error, changing the environment in different ways until you find what it is that helps or bothers your baby. Now that we've talked about the environment one sense at a time, let's take a look at all the different sensory information in your baby's environment.
Take a look around your home. Try to pretend you're seeing it for the first time. What do you see?
How bright is it? Is it different in different parts of your place? What about sounds? Are there any noises you don't usually notice? If you have a TV, radio, or music on, what difference does it make if you turn it off? If your place is silent, what difference does it make if you add some noise? Do you sing or talk to your baby? How does he or she respond? What does it smell like in your home? Does your baby react to the smell of familiar people or places? How about cooking or food smells, or unfamiliar smells and new places and people? Let's talk about the sense of touch. Are you holding your baby? How does your baby respond to different kinds of touch? What do your baby's clothes and blankets feel like? Does he or she react differently to different textures? Is your baby getting any proprioceptive or deep pressure input right now? This is the kind babies get from being bundled or carried on your body or contained in other ways. What are the ways your baby gets this input, and how does he or she respond? What are the kinds of movement or vestibular experiences your baby is getting? When you're holding your baby, do you rock or sway or walk or dance, or are you still? What else is there in your home that gives your baby movement experiences? Rocking chairs and baby swings are two common ways. Are there any others in your baby's environment? You can go through each of your baby's environments, thinking about them sense by sense. Now, let's think about all of your baby's senses together and how you may use them when you're trying to calm your baby. Do you rock or bounce him or her? Do you hold him or her more snugly or swaddle or carry him or her on your body? Do you sing or talk soothingly to your baby? Perhaps you move into a quieter or dimmer room. You are undoubtedly already using your baby's senses and the environment in a number of ways to help him or her get into the state he or she needs to be in. By training yourself to pay even more attention to the environment and to the strategies you or others may already use, you will give yourselves a helpful tool next time your baby is getting upset and you can't figure out why.